On today's episode of the Warren's Way podcast, I'm joined by our first Aussie Hollywood actress on the show. You might recognise her from Hall Pass, The Wedding Ringer, and a cheeky cameo on Entourage, which was Dad's favourite TV show of all time. He rewatched it 3 times, to my knowledge, probably more. But more importantly, she's a massive Star Wars fan and looks after all of dogs and trying to make sure she can help as many dogs as possible in her spare time. Welcome to the show, Nicky Whelan.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. As soon as you started this podcast, I'm like signed in everywhere, TikTok, everywhere. I'm like, yes, this had to be done. So Thanks for having me.
No, thank you, Nicky, because I know I was telling you just before this was going to be something me and Dad would do together. And obviously we never got the chance to do that, but you would have been right at the top of the list for people to speak to because you guys had a very unique and fun relationship. You guys travelled all around the world.
Yeah. And there's been so many times, and we'll get into it, where I really needed some help and really needed some advice in navigating things in the business. And he's obviously been through so many things in regarding our business, and he literally walked me through them over FaceTime in the most random locations in the world. I'd be like, Shane! Yeah. But you can feel him in here. You can feel him in here with all his stuff. Like you really can. It's still, his presence lives incredibly strong.
Well, thank you, Nicky. And that's what's been really nice about this podcast. It's actually a lot of closure for a lot of the guests as well, because for them, they're able to get something off their chest about Dad. And also in a nice selfish way, I'm actually learning a lot about Dad as well. More just the stories, but all of the things that I'm hearing have all got things in common. And like what you just said, he always wanted to help people, which was like at the top of his list over anything. Was helping people.
It was actually just part of his nature, like his demeanor. Like it wasn't a forced part. It's just genuinely how he was. I think that's why he was able, like you can feel when he left, I feel like, and my girlfriend Rosanna and I talk about it all the time, Melbourne changed. The energy in Melbourne literally shifted. Sounds dramatic, but is a fact. You can feel it.
Yeah, and that's something I'd love to talk about you soon because I completely agree. Melbourne, ever since COVID, has just gone so far downhill. But before we talk all about that, your childhood and growing up, because you're from Melbourne as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you think when you were growing up you always wanted to be in the entertainment industry, acting, modelling, or was that something that as you got older?
It was something I really just wanted to do since I was little. So from a very, very, I reckon 4 or 5, I was dancing. Mum had us in dance school and just always loved performing. It was just sort of, I literally felt like I was born with it in me. So I followed it through, and I'm so lucky in that sense because so many people are trying to navigate what they want to do in life. Even at 20, 30, 40, 50, people are still searching for purpose. And when you're born with a feeling of knowing already what you want to do, that's all I did. So I didn't care about school, my grades or anything like this. I got into so much trouble at school because I just knew my focus was dancing, Hollywood, acting. I used to pretend to be American. It's so weird. Now I'm like, no, I don't want to change my accent. But like just an obsession with it from a really young age. And there are no performers in my family, so it wasn't like mum or dad were ever, going off to acting. My dad was a builder, so it just was in me. And so I just followed it through. And I used to and still do make vision boards. I'm so cheesy. Super cheesy, but I make them. I make them now at the start of every year with like cut and paste them out from magazines and print them out. And every year I really do manage to tick it off. And I did that young, and that's where it all sort of fell into place. You know what I mean? As the career sort of started super early.
Yeah. And I don't think not cheese boards. I don't think the mood boards
Love a cheese board
cheesy.
though. Love a cheese board.
are cheesy because me and Kaya actually have one for this podcast about potential guests we'd love to get one day. We're always cutting out things, putting on our mood board, just because every day when we wake up, before we come here, if we're looking at it, I feel like, and I really do believe in manifesting and all that sort of stuff, because the more you say something out loud or you look at something, it will slowly attract itself and it will come to be. So no, they're not cheesy, so keep it up.
Thank you.
And you came from a big family, didn't you? A few brothers and sisters?
I have 3 older brothers and an older sister, and mum and dad who were together forever. Right up until Dad passed. So, we just grew up down Mornington Peninsula. You guys were close by too, weren't you? What?
Yeah, we lived in Brighton our whole life. Used to always go down to Sorrento and Portsea, but Kaya, Miss Producer over there, is from St Andrews.
Okay, so we're neighbours down there. Yeah, and we know how beautiful it is. Like it's just very normal upbringing down on the peninsula, tiny little beach town, Mornington. Still spend my summers there every single year.
Yeah.
It's just... we're really lucky. All of us are really lucky. Like statistically, we were born in a pretty good place.
And that's why they used to call Australia, well, I say used to, but it's why they call Australia the lucky country.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many footage and heard so many stories of what Australia was like, you know, from the 60s onwards.
Yeah.
It looked like the funnest country to live in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just not it anymore.
It's not. It doesn't feel like that coming
That-
home anymore.
It doesn't feel like it.
No.
But your brothers and sisters, were they into acting or singing or entertainment?
No. My
No.
sister did a little bit of drama and performance in school, and then when she finished, she actually moved off to England and met her husband over there. And sort of, he's a dentist, so she became affiliated in that world. Her 2 daughters are beautiful, and they have to do something because they're so talented. So is my other niece to one of my brother's daughters. But no, it was just me, and I started doing, you know, where we can say this, we didn't have phones. So, you know, everything you did was you had to go meet people in person, joined promo agencies when I was younger. I wanted to do acting, and I was always dancing. I wanted to be a cheerleader. I thought that was so cool back then. Still think it's cool. But so I got into, and I wasn't the strongest dancer either, but I went and danced full-time at Dance Factory when I finished school. And all the agency girls were going to be cheerleaders. And so I went to the casting for the girls outside of the agency because they wouldn't put me in it. And I ended up getting it. I just wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
And I got in, and not being even the strongest dancer. So I was Melbourne Storm, who's now they're still Melbourne Storm.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, sorry, I always get them mixed up with the basketball. Then I became
Yeah.
Melbourne Tigers, who's now United.
Yeah.
So I was a little cheerleader, and that's how it all began. And I was on the field cheerleading, and Chris Giannopoulos, bless him, and Jamie Jury, mates of mine came up and they were like, do you want to maybe do any kind of TV presenting? And I was like blown away and stoked that they asked me. And I said yes, and then started this whole thing of hosting programs in Melbourne. But I ultimately wanted to do acting, and that came a little further down the track.
And do you think that's where all the confidence came from too? When you've got that first, you know, gig of being a cheerleader, you're doing really well, and then getting introduced to people, that's where the confidence came. You know what? I am pretty good at this. There's options to get bigger and bigger and grow, and then you turn to acting.
I think it's funny about the confidence thing. There are at the AFL one year, like they asked me to get up and talk on stage. I think there was like 100,000 people, and it was so weird. I was okay, but put me in a room with 10 people in an audition and I fall apart. So the level of like confidence is a weird thing, and it sort of hits people differently. There would be some games initially at the Melbourne Storm. You're on that field, you know how big the crowd is, but the distance sort of kept it not feeling too crazy. But when I'm on a movie set now with anyone, my fear is gone. I still get like starstruck and I still get excited, but my nervousness comes in really weird areas.
Yeah.
Confidence is, I knew pretty quickly that if I don't just face this instantly, it's going to block me for the rest of my career. I was like, you kind of have to willing to just be really silly
and be
fall.
open to it, and fall.
Yep.
And one thing I can relate to that as well is it was the night of Dad's Day Memorial, and up until then, never really done any public speaking. Definitely you would never see me talking in front of cameras, a live audience, anything like that. But for me, I've gone up on stage, you know, in front of 50,000 people live, cameras, important people on the ground, people in the stand, apparently to over 1 billion people around the world. And I've had to talk about something so personal and emotional to me. And that was sort of my first, you know, public speaking gig, that when I came off stage and got the clap, I felt like really okay. And I feel like that was the first moment my life pretty much changed forever in terms of confidence. But exactly like what you just said, if you asked me to talk in front of 20 or 30 people, like I did a school camp just over 2 weeks ago in front of maybe 100 people, I was probably more nervous for that than I was the State Memorial, which is very strange.
It could be when you're quite a sensitive energy and you can feel people and you can feel bullshit, you can feel everything. When you're close to people speaking, you can feel their energy. So if something's off, I've been in auditions like the movies where people are on their phone and I'm auditioning and I'm like, it throws me off so bad. Like, but the speech you did, and when you had to get up, the circumstances were at the highest level possible, the most hugest audience, and I mean, I saw you do it. You would have thought that you had done that 1,000 times before. You were so good at it, and you know, you're talking about really, really the biggest things in your life. Your voice breaks. My girlfriend Tali was very close with Nadim, the guy that just got shot, one of the policemen that got shot in Australia. She had to talk in front of the whole of Australia for that. And she called me beforehand. She goes, I don't know how to do this. And I was like, just If your voice breaks, your voice breaks. If
Yeah.
you stop, if you need to breathe, if you break out in hives, there's something about the nervousness and the crackling in the voice and the fumbling, if it happens, where all of a sudden the whole audience goes, wow, there's actually a relatability to that.
Yeah.
People feel your authenticity, and then it drops and you actually get a better
Yeah.
engagement.
And it's actually it's most people's number one fear is public speaking. So people just think, oh, because you're on cameras all the time or you do it consistently, that, you know, you're just naturally good at it. But it actually takes a lot of practice.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of time to actually beat those nerves. Like, I still get nervous and I might not look like I do, but it's, to me, when I'm hearing stories of people, especially after I did the state memorial, that would tell me when they're in their 30s or 40s or 50s, both male and female, they'd say, look, I wasn't actually strong enough or had the courage to talk at my brother's funeral when I was his, you know, meant to talk, or at my dad's or my mum's funeral. So for you to do that at 22 years old is unbelievable. And
Huge.
not to make it about me, but to your friend as well.
But it is, yeah.
It's just, it's devastating. It's weird when it has to be in situations like that, because it's almost, your mindset is, I know this person would want me to do it, so I'm going to do it for them. It's almost bigger than yourself.
It does. Something happens to you and you get to feel the magic of what it is like to hold the space and be seen. That's why we're here, is we're all being seen by each other, right? So when you've got thousands and hundreds and thousands of people seeing you, the vulnerability is whole nother level, but there's a magic light that drops in, which is definitely your dad showing up with you, that we can't see, but it drops in your body and you go, you all of a sudden, it's a strange power feeling, but it's like a sense of peace in the eye of the storm, and it's a really great position to sit.
Yeah, and I reckon there's probably been over 100 times where I'm talking and I get this weird feeling, maybe like a flow state of just talking, but it's like Dad's spirit has just gone and it's just coming out. And I can't describe it because I've seen so many interviews of his cricketing career, because I never used to speak about cricket with Dad, but I've seen so many interviews of him getting asked a question and answering it. I get asked something very similar and I nearly answer it word for word for what Dad did 20 or 30 years ago. So it's so strange, some of the parallels that me and Dad are finally having, but yeah, it's a strange feeling.
With the circumstances that are always out of our control, it's almost like, do you sort of feel that after his passing, that like the way that your whole life is running now, there is a beautiful flow to it, and it's because you're following, do you know what I mean? Like you're sort of following the path of probably exactly how he would wanted this to go, you know?
And I feel like this is the first time where I've actually found like my purpose, and because everybody struggles to find what their purpose is, and it's great that you found yours at a young age, but I always struggled to find out what mine would be. I always had dreams that I wanted to be a professional Lego master builder. That's just, I love Lego.
Right there with you.
I love Lego. I eventually wanted to go to Denmark and I wanted to build Lego. That's what I wanted my life to be.
Yeah.
Never ended up happening. But as soon as Dad passed and all the things that we're doing with the legacy and this podcast, this is the first time that, because I don't know if I'll be doing this in 5 or 10 years, but because me and Dad were going to be starting this together, and the concept behind this of like sharing some stories and honouring Dad's memory, which some people haven't heard before, is really nice. And I know he would want me doing this. So that's why I feel very comfortable talking to people like you and his friends, because yes, it might be very emotional for me to bring up, but I feel very comfortable doing it.
That's what I mean. There's sort of, I remember talking to you a couple of years ago, and we were asking about what you're doing, and you were sort of saying you were doing the pokers and the Lego and stuff. So with you on Lego, by the way, a Star Wars nerd. But that proper purpose that sinks into your body, I have it with animals. I love what I do for a living, but not until I found the animal rescue stuff I do have I ever felt more purpose in my life. And when you do find it, usually the best purposes are the ones when you're giving back. So this is what you're doing. You're giving back a huge legacy and keeping it alive, because it's one that changes people's lives. He changed people's lives. You're carrying that light through you with your personality and what you bring to the table, and it's giving back ultimately in every capacity. And I really believe God or universe or spirit will always be on your side when your purpose has a sense of giving back. 1,000%.
Thank you, Nikki. And that's why people always say, if you're ever feeling down about yourself, just help someone.
Yep.
Give up your time, give up your energy, and just help someone that needs it, because it's one of the best feelings in the world when you know your time and energy is used for good.
Yeah.
And so
100%.
back to your farm and horses and animals and dog lover, that's how you spend a lot of your spare time, is making
Yeah.
sure that dogs that don't have homes find homes.
Yeah, I years and years ago in LA, because LA, the business is great and I'm never short of a job. I've been so lucky. We're not doing A-list movies all the time, but I'm consistent in my business. But the downtime is weird and it's bizarre. And LA is not your Melbourne where you walk to the coffee shop, you got your community. All my family and closest friends are here. So my downtime in LA is, and I'm not a partier, I'm not a drug taker, I've never done drugs. I barely drink. I don't drink for years. My downtime is kind of weird. I'm like, what do I do? I love my boxing and I love a couple activities, but I felt so useless. And I'm like, I'm so capable. I'm young. I'm fit. I'm strong. What else can I do? And my publicist sent me to an animal charity called Last Chance for Animals. It's one of the it's not up there with the big ones, but it's pretty profound, the movement that they've made. And when you were little and kids in Australia and you watch the commercials come through where you see the puppies and this and that, and you'd be like, I want a puppy. We never were educated on where these dogs were coming from and what was happening, or sponsor this farm and all these sort of weird things.
Yeah.
And for the first time, and I had my little Yoda, my dog, and my little Frenchie with me at the event, and I looked and I was like, wow, there's a whole corrupt system going on in this world that I'm completely been aware of. And I met some people at these events that have rescue properties around Los Angeles. And I said, do you mind if I just come out and hang out and I'll shovel shit, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Can I just be a part of it? So I became so close with Ria and another company called Spirit of Animals. And I started just spending all my days on the farm building fences. And I was working with zebras. I mean, they get exotics out there from lions and tigers. We get monkeys, but also capybaras, like the most random animals. And I found this massive sense of peace out there and purpose. We would go to the shelters, we would pull animals. I was housing dogs. Sometimes the jobs are tiny, sometimes the jobs were on a bigger scale, but I was in this sort of collective consciousness of rescuing animals. And I don't have kids. I don't want kids. I'm glad I don't have children. I love children, but that wasn't my path. This has literally taken up a huge portion of my life, and I am at peace. I'm at peace with many things. I stopped giving a fuck about so much stuff in my life when I became immersed in this world. And it's just like your new career and what drives you now. Animals is just a huge part of it. So the community is amazing and there's so much work to be done, but animals don't have a voice and we have a voice. So that's part of my mission.
It's amazing, Nicki. And do you remember the very first time, I know you said it just before, but doing something that you hadn't done before on the farm, like having to feed the zebras or actually seeing a lion?
Yeah.
Were you just so out of the comfort zone, you're like, what the hell am I doing? But this is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I'd kind of, mum and dad had managed a farm property, a stud farm for racehorses actually in Australia. So I had lived on a farm for about 4 or 5 years when I was a teenager. And so I was used to sort of being on there but not actually interacting.
Engaging with the animal.
But every animal on the property that I work with has a heinous story. And I remember going to an auction. They have these auctions in LA. They're so brutal. It's like a couple hours outside of Los Angeles. They bring out like a baby pig or like a goat and its baby and put it in this shed. And if no one bids off on it and buys it, the butcher's standing there and he just rips them out and slaughters them. And I was like, is this?
In front of everybody?
No, they do it at the place around the back. And I was like, is this happening? Like, I understand people eat meat and there's a place. But some of these animals are too little and too innocent. This is not right. And the screaming of these animals. And when you go to the auctions, you can grab the pigs for $20. It's not like they're $5,000.
Yeah.
So me and my girlfriend grab everything.
Yeah.
We've got like a truck full of everything. And we took this beautiful, they were going to slaughter the mother and keep the baby goat. And I was like, absolutely not. We're taking both. And so there's a footage of me in the car driving home and the mother is just got her head here. And she's not even really interactive with humans. The mother's got her head here. I'm holding her baby. The baby's finally asleep. And the mother's like, thank you.
Yeah.
It just like,
because you can just feel it.
You just feel like they know what's going on. If you've been in the mix with them and you hear the screams. So I got back to the farm and we're feeding the baby and we put them in the paddock with some of the other rescues. And to this day, those guys are still thriving. That mother was going to be slaughtered. She now gets to be raised with her baby. And this is the daily kind of thing that you see that no one sort of sees, the behind the scenes. It just felt like it's a little situation, but now thriving on this farm, living the best life. People can come visit them. So there's just a lot of stories like that, to go back to your question of, there was a bulldog left in a dumpster for 10 days, covered in maggots. He'd been used as a bait dog. So when they fight the dogs, they put a bait one in the middle that just gets shredded. They had dumped this bulldog. And my girlfriend Ria, who runs one of the properties, goes, I got to go get it. Someone's been saying it's been crying in there for 10 days. No one pulled it out. She goes and pulls it from the dumpster. I meet her at the vet. This dog is hacked up pretty heavily. And he actually, I did put this one on my Instagram. And little Bruiser, he knew I was there to help him. We raised a bunch of money for him, got his surgery done. This dog looked like mincemeat. 6 years later, or however many years later it is, this dog lives on the farm. It bolts around. It should have been dead 10 times. It helps herd cattle. It sleeps with pigs and a skunk that's damaged on the property. This dog is one of the leading packs of about 40 dogs thriving and living a life. So you get to see some really beautiful stories come from these animals. Can't rescue them all, but help when we can.
That is so special, because it is so sad, because that would happen all around the world.
Yeah.
And so if you can just, give up your time and energy to help these animals that are in need, it's amazing. What's the dynamic like between all of the animals on the farm? Like, is it chaos? Is it like a zoo?
Oh my God, it's hilarious. Like, feeding hour is so funny. They have different properties at different setups. Ria's farm's pretty wild. I mean, we've got anything from a capybara baby that's being babysat to a skunk to miniature pigs, well, the little baby pigs. The big pigs, you've got a swarm of dogs. You'll have a donkey in the mix, alpaca. They all get along. It's like Noah's Ark, the way, and you really see like how these animals are together when they've all been orphaned or pulled from heinous situations. You see how they come together and realise they know that they've been rescued. They don't have their parents, so they congregate together, and you understand animals. There's a cocky that we just got recently. We pulled a bunch of birds, and one of them's this cocky. It's so ballsy. This damn thing sits with a cane corso or cane corso, however you want to say it. Don't yell at me. He was another one that we pulled from the shelter. He was going to be euthanized because he had broken one leg. His family had paid for it, but he'd broken his other leg, and the family was like, we can't afford another surgery. He was about to be put down. We pulled him. We think we raised $8,000, got his leg removed. He's now got 3 legs. So there's a cane corso, this massive dog, and it's got a cocky sitting on top of it, aggravating it with a baby pig and a couple little baby dogs sleeping at his feet. So when you see this, there's nothing, for me,
magic.
there's nothing better.
Yeah, it's literally magic. And do you think when you first moved to LA, this was something you always wanted to do?
I had no idea. This was part of my path.
Yeah.
Purpose is a big thing for all of us, right? And I know a lot of women in my life who are single mothers now. They're getting to their 50s, their kids are leaving home, they don't have their partner anymore, and they have to reinvent themselves. Purpose is a really big thing for humans. I think it's in the top 3 most important things to survive. And so it is such a blessing. And I always say to people in LA, if you're bored, come and shovel shit with me for a day. And they do, and they leave crying. Like they've been in touch with stuff. It's just,
And it also gives them a different perspective and appreciation for life and for everything, especially like when you think you're living, oh, my life's so miserable or it's so tough or I can't, and whatever they're complaining about. When you actually go and experience a day or a week or a month what actually is tough, you come back and you just appreciate everything.
Yes. And, we going back to your dad, because this is why we're here today, and I lost my dad too. When you lose someone close to you and you sit, or I'm with these animals that pass away, I've been with many animals now on their last breath, even my own little Yoda, it brings you back to the reality of why we're here without being cheesy, but it gives you purpose. It makes you realize what's important. And I love that as I get older. It helps with my confidence too. When you work out what's important in your life, I don't give a fuck about anything else.
Yeah.
The freedom that comes with that. I wish I could have taught my 20-year-old self to not give a fuck, because it has been a huge part of my happiness now is just prioritizing.
So do you think when you were growing up in your 20s or early 30s that you probably cared too much about certain things or career or work?
Yeah.
And as you've gotten a bit older, you're like, actually, that's not that important.
Yes.
Yeah.
1,000%. You know, we all want to be somewhere better. We all want to have something better, but we block ourselves by caring. Like when I come home and I sort of listen to, and it's all around the world. I travel around the world like you guys travel the world. So you see it. Everybody has their stuff, but I really don't sweat the small stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I could give a shit.
Yeah.
And it's, removing that has allowed me a different level of confidence with my work, how I start my days. I still don't know sometimes when my next job's coming through. I don't know how the world's looking. I travel the world alone. I'm in weird places doing things and I panic and I'm like, really? Really? Like,
Yeah.
Like we really, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I know. Like everything will be okay.
And if it's
I know what
not,
you mean.
it's the end, and then it's the end.
Yeah.
So, yeah, making peace with that.
Yeah.
I've still got an enormous amount of work to do, but making peace with that, don't you reckon
Yeah.
it puts things, you feel it too,
Yeah, no,
right?
it's the right mindset to have because it makes you just appreciate when something actually is tough or important. You go, well, you should have the decision to make quite easily. And if there's people that are upsetting you and you go, well, hang on, like, has that person actually upset me or is that person just, a sad person? I'm just going to ignore those comments. Because we're both you a lot more than me, but in the public eye, in the media.
Yeah.
So you're always open to criticism and feedback, but sometimes it's just from anonymous people that have nothing better to do and they're just hating. So I guess growing up and, having thick skin, that's helped you probably have the mindset you do now.
You know, your dad helped me with something about talking about thick skin. We went to, you know how he does the poker tournaments in Vegas, as you well know, because you're a poker stud as well. I was in Vegas and he was on Instagram. He goes, Nick, you in Vegas? I'm like, I'm here. He goes, I'm here too. Come meet us out. So we're all in Vegas. We're like, we're going to go out and party. So we meet him out. And I got to say, going out to a club with your dad in Vegas is quite the experience. The welcome banners in the big clubs, it was the full
the
thing.
fireballs, the sparkle.
Just the 10 girls with the things coming out. And God, it's so much fun going out with him. And, I'm not a huge partier, but I will stay awake and boogie all night long on my hot water and lemon. And so anyway, that night I was just having, again, there was always a good time to be had with your dad. And I said, let's do a selfie. So we're in the club, big bright lights. I think my girlfriend lit it up for us. We do this selfie and in the photo, like we looked pretty rough, right?
Yeah.
Your dad did not look pretty rough. And we were both laughing and I'm like, don't worry, I can clean us up, like being silly because this new app had come out where you can smooth the skin.
I think I know the exact photo you're talking about because that's when he started to get accused all the time about getting surgery and all this filler and all this work done to his face. I remember that photo exactly, and he's pouting as well. He looks perfectly airbrushed. Yes,
okay,
I remember
I
that
am
photo.
taking full responsibility for this because your dad hadn't had any work done when this photo was taken. It's in my phone and it's still on my Instagram page. Yeah. But I was like, I can smooth you out. And he's like, yeah, sure, do whatever. And I was like, no, watch what I can do. So I smoothed our faces, right? But I guess the way the angle was taken, I think I wasn't wearing glasses then. I smoothed his face out like he was 12 years old and I posted it, not thinking, right? The next day, the Daily Mail, Shane's had I don't know what they said, facelift, Botox.
Everything, Botox.
And I was mortified, not because it was more about him. I had kind of ultimately thrown him under the bus by accident. I rang him. I think I was nearly in tears. I was like, I'm so sorry. What can I do? First of all, he was like, gives a shit. I look good, yeah. She's like, so? I said, do you want me to redo it and repost it and take it? He goes, Nick, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And it was weird. We had this conversation because I was really having a meltdown because he is so famous and that went everywhere. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And he goes, it was the first time ever in my career that someone had said, just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
This ease to his voice and he gives a shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? You know what I'm talking about?
And look back now, it's probably been over 10 years since that photo, and it's in the big grand scheme of things, something that we thought might have been so significant or upset somebody turned out to be like, oh, it's actually, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Dad would have given you the peace of mind to be like, Nicky, everything's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm very lucky now that I can see negative articles, even about Dad 2-3 years on about, what was happening at the time of him passing and all that stuff. But that's why growing up, Dad always just with his advice and seeing what he went through, ever since he was 20 years old up until pretty much now, still all these negative articles, he's still coming out the other end okay.
He handled it. Was he always like that from a young age?
Well, I know in the early 90s, he used to get really upset about his weight, and he used to just never understand why anybody always just cares about, what he's on the scales, how he's looking. He could never understand it. That's the only thing that kind of frustrated him. But as he got older, he just slowly, didn't give a fuck, didn't give a shit. And what's really sad is it was like as soon as he turned 50 in 2019, the best years of my life was from pretty much 2019 until he passed. And it was just because I felt just this massive shift in his energy that everything was off. There was no more guard. He just was like, you know what? I've achieved so much and I've done so many great things and I've helped so many people. I'm never going to change. This is who I am. This is my personality. If you don't like it, well, fuck off.
Yeah.
But I could feel that from him, and it was just going out with him. He was just so confident and happy with himself. He had nothing else to prove, and you could feel it, and you just felt like Superman around him.
That is a profound energy to be able to experience while you're in a human body, and he got there and he had it. And a lot of people never get there. Something with age, as you get older, you adapt that, not giving a shit as much. There's a freedom to that, which we spoke about earlier. But truly, when you are the best in the world, which he was, and someone's talking about your weight, it's like, really?
Yeah,
that's our fucking focus.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
And
What else you got? And when you get hit with everything and you still survive, as he did, and thrive, that's why you can walk with it. So what an incredible energy for you to be around, experience, feel, and to see him thriving in it. That is the ultimate. You know what I mean?
And it is the ultimate, and it was contagious. I feel like I was absorbing all of that my whole life, especially the last few years, and it hasn't really only been until like sort of now and every day, since he's passed, that I'm finally actually showing all of the energy that I have absorbed. And that might sound strange to the people listening or watching, but I think I just shadowed him my whole life and was his mini-me. That one thing that just really upsets me is I'm just sad I'll never be able to hang out with Dad with this version of me, because this version of me and who Dad was would have so much fun. Because I'm not sure if you've seen Austin Powers, but I'm like his mini-me, nearly identical to what Dad would be, which is, it might sound weird to other people, but I feel it.
It's not. It's isn't it the biggest pain? The pain is so strange. No one understands it or feels it. I remember you being so little, running around the house at the parties, only because you were just younger than us. So you were just little, bouncing around and stuff. But you guys look so similar, and you were like the sensible version of him. So you're this beautiful mix of Shane, of like the sensible voice of reason, but also like daring and fierce and true. And it is I don't even know how that would feel. It's what you say. We were talking about it earlier before we started today's podcast. It's the things that happen afterwards. The initial death of someone passing is so painful, and the shock and the unexpectancy, but also those things that you live with for years. Every time you go to do something, I'm sure 90% of the time you're like, geez, I wish Dad was next to me with this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, well, thank you for sharing that. And if it's okay with you, did you have a really good relationship with your dad as well? Because that's something we both have in common.
Yeah, I wasn't as close with my dad as you definitely are with your dad. God bless my dad. He was old school, hard ass Aussie, but we spoke in the last couple of years when he was slowly dying. We spoke every day on FaceTime, and again, funny that your dad was infiltrated throughout my dad's death too, interestingly enough. My dad died in the time of COVID, and, as we know, Australia had the most heinous and disgusting rules. It was almost like the guinea pig of the world. Let's just see what we can get away with in the treatment of how this place responded to COVID. But my dad was dying, and I couldn't get back into the country, and I wasn't vaccinated at that point because I didn't want to be vaccinated at all. I had seen some horrible results from people being vaccinated, and I didn't want to. And I panicked, and he was going to pass away any day. And I was like, I need to get into Australia. But that they had that 2-week hardcore quarantine at the airport. And I was like, I can't even have that as an option because he's going to die. And if I get put in that isolation at the airport, I'm going to lose my dad over the phone, if you're even allowed phones in there, which I think you were. and I'm not going to have anyone with me when my dad passes. So guess who I rang?
Dad.
Your dad. Like, who do I know is the most powerful baller in Australia who might be able to get me in to see my dad without being vaccinated? And we got on FaceTime, and he had been traveling a lot too. And I was like, I don't know what to do, Shane. Like, I'm going to lose my dad. I can't say goodbye to him. And thousands of people went through this in COVID, not just me. How do I get into the country? And he goes, Nix, I can't get anywhere without getting vaccinated either. They keep jabbing me every time I jump on a plane. We had this really, like, I was distraught. I was losing my mind. I was losing my dad, and I couldn't be in his presence quick enough. And we had a really long chat about COVID and the vaccination. And he's like, if I could get you in on a private jet, kid, I would. And it was a very, very, very hard time for me. And again, your dad walked me through it. And I know, he goes, I'm going to see, when we got off the phone, he goes, I'll see what I can do to help you to even get you in here. Just the calmness, because the size of your dad's energy, when he would come so sincerely in the middle of nowhere with a FaceTime call with little old me going, I need to get into Australia. He just stopped his whole world and got on FaceTime and goes, here's the deal. And we were both panicking, and it was such a human moment, because we were both traveling and realizing that you can't go anywhere without that damn jab.
Yeah, and I'm so sad and sorry that you had to go through that, because it's devastating, and it's a disgrace that we all had to go through that, because, you know, we didn't go through it for 1 year. We actually went through it for 2 years on and off, and we probably had some of the worst restrictions in the world, with the 5 kilometre radius, closing gyms but leaving bottle-os open, don't go outside for more than 30 minutes. Like, the more you look back on it, it's just, if you told us now, to the people growing up, this is what we went through, they wouldn't believe it, because it's so outrageous. No. But going back to COVID, it was actually the first thing that me and Dad had an argument about, because not that I was like, I loved knowing that I was in control of my own body, and I didn't get it for about 2 years. I tried to get it as late as possible. Yeah. And when I did get the vaccine, it was only because I could travel with Dad, and I never got even the chance to go traveling with him, because something happened and that trip ended up getting cancelled. But it was the first time me and Dad actually argued, because it was weird sitting at a poker table but having to wear a mask, but then, you know, you're touching the same poker chips or touching the same cards. So none of it really made sense. No. But it's the first thing that me and Dad argued about. Which was really sad. And me and Dad never, ever argued about anything. Wow. But this was the first thing we argued. And he wasn't necessarily pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. He was just like, why can't everybody just get it and move on with it? Yeah. And I was a bit like, well, hang on, it's like, it's your body. I was just pro-freedom of choice, and I didn't like the idea of me not having to decide, you know, what I can put in my body.
I think he also, because I remember saying that to him, he goes, maybe just get it just to get in, but it still wouldn't have been enough time to have seen my dad and say goodbye. Yeah. But I felt, and maybe you can, because you know so much better, but I felt like he just hadn't invested a lot of energy in realizing how the consequences of what people were suffering from it at that time. I think he's on survival mode. He's such a big figure being pushed to be like, because I remember him saying to me, I don't want to get any more. He said to me on the phone, I do not want to get another one of these damn shots. It's terrifying. Yeah. So I didn't realize that had happened with you guys.
And I 100% agree, because he was somebody that never ever thought he was going to die. And he was Superman. I looked at him as Superman, and I know we all felt like Superman when we were around him. Yeah. And I think he would never have thought something like this would have happened. No. And maybe even if the vaccine didn't directly kill him, and maybe Dad had underlying health issues of heart disease or something like that, I think maybe the vaccine just accelerated it all and brought it straight to the surface. But yeah, it's just sad that we'll never know. And it's sad that we're not the only ones that lost parents or loved ones. There was millions of people all around the world, and Australia, unfortunately, copped it the hardest.
I think we've got a lot of evidence to say that they've done some pretty bad injuries with that vaccine. And the funniest for me was when I did first come back to Australia, when they finally were letting us in, I also ended up having to get vaccinated. I had the J&J and to do a movie in Malta, which was then pulled from me by someone from my past heinously situation again, so I never even needed to get it. I was an asymptomatic COVID person, very lucky. A lot of people weren't. They caught it, and it was awful. I caught it a bunch and was asymptomatic, so I kept saying, why have I got to get this jab, which made me violently ill and put me in acetylcyanide for 24 hours, which I don't talk about very often. But yeah, it didn't go down well in my body. Meanwhile, they banned the J&J 2 weeks after I got it because it was clotting people. I'm like, of course, I got the fancy one.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I remember flying back to Australia and I'm on the plane for 15 hours, the LA-Melbourne trip. Everyone's masked up. We're all sitting there for 15 hours. Then when the plane lands, someone comes over the speaker, the air hostess or whatever, and says, can everybody please, when you stand up, please remove yourselves and stand a metre from each other.
Yeah.
We had just been sitting arm to arm
Yeah.
for 15 hours in a tin can, all like this, and as soon as we stand up, now split apart. I mean, it's these things I listen to, and you can understand the frustration. At least America was a little bit more lenient. Like there was a bit more freedom over there going on. I'm so glad I wasn't here. People suffered terribly from that time. Shame on them for what they did.
Yeah. And do you think in America, because you had a bit more freedom, was it because of the population size? Was it how patriotic you are for your humanity? Was just a combination of everything?
It was a combination of that, and I think it's really hard to, I don't think the population in America, the state of California is over 40 million people.
Yeah.
A bit harder to control. I think the population in Australia maybe is now 27 million. That's a random guess. I remember when it was 23 million.
You're about right. Yeah,
but it's a lot easier to control a much smaller population than so many of us in America. Like I never got into trouble in America for driving at the wrong time or if you had to drive. But I watched people here suffer terribly. I had to say goodbye to my dad on FaceTime.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? And your dad, another huge time on the earth, and I processed a little bit with your dad.
Yeah. No, again, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that because it couldn't have been easy. And it's weird that it's nearly been 4 or 5 years, but I feel like it's just, a lot more people are realising that we can actually talk about this because for a long time I felt like if you spoke about anything to do with COVID or vaccines that you just get silence, a button gets pressed, doesn't go out there, you would feel like you're in danger. But hopefully now a lot more people have got the courage to, talk about it and help spread a bit more information about it.
Yes. I watch a lot of people getting the flu vaccination. Listen, some vaccines have been absolutely, without a doubt, have been very needed and incredibly important for the growth of humans. And, when you're a baby, we would get 4 or 5. I think kids are getting 50 now. Yeah. Autism's at an all high. Don't even get me started. But it's so funny, touch wood, I've never had the flu. I'm in my 40s, never had the flu. Had a couple sniffles, And I'm not a big antibiotic taker unless highly needed. But again, antibiotics are a huge part of have saved lives. However, everyone I know that runs off and gets this flu shot, every year, twice a year, they're calling me violently ill. I'm like, you can't, everybody has their own personal journey and experience with it and stuff. But I just go, and listen, I've been lucky maybe in my genes. I don't know how healthy my body is now, getting my bloods done at the moment. But these choices that we're forced to make, I don't think they're going to be able to fool us again.
And I hope so as well. But going back as well to your body, like I feel like your body is so well designed, the human body is so well designed that if you give it the right amount of water, the right amount of food, sunlight, exercise, sleep, that is enough medicine for your body to live a very healthy life. Yes. Like touch wood, I haven't been to the doctors or a hospital in over 5 or 6 years. Yeah. The last time I was there was to get the vaccine, and I just literally am so healthy now with with going to the gym, sauntering, diet, water, that this is the best I've ever felt. And so for me to go back to a hospital or doctor or even on, pills for a headache or whatever it is, I don't understand that because I feel like I'm looking after my body really well.
Yes.
I will treat myself to Macca's. I love Macca's or eating a pizza
really?
or something
You're
like
so
that.
Funny.
I'll reward myself
awesome.
like that.
Yeah.
Like everybody's got their vices.
Macca's. Yeah.
Love Macca's.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like everybody deep down knows how they should be looking after their body, and I think most people just ignore it.
Yeah, I think there are definitely bodies that are born compromised with already problems or bad genetics and things and bits and pieces. But you're right, and we do have our bodies are incredible and do know how to heal a lot of the time. We're just not given the education or the opportunity or ever educated. It's always been one way, and we're living in a world now, as evil as these damn phones are, they've also given us access to connect in a different way, to share information and to wake up. We are waking up on so many levels, and we are the pioneers of this time, another generation that's waking up. We're here for it. We're here to share information and to evolve. And I feel like if we were in Star Wars, you know what side we're on.
Yeah, we've got blue and green lightsabers. What color
Yes, we
lightsaber would
do.
you have?
Yes, we do. That's exactly what I ask people. So
Yeah.
I feel like you and I, especially with our love for Star Wars, we are on the same team. And
Yeah.
there's a lot more of us than people realise. It's
Yeah.
just that we've always been bashed for speaking about it. So here we
Yeah.
are.
And this is the first time as well that we could actually speak with confidence, because we are, we're finally starting to share our voice and share our opinions and share our feelings, because for a long time we just were like, enough is enough and we are whatever. But now it's actually like, no, I want to make sure the next generation of people that get brought up are aware of everything that's going on and how the world works. But you've traveled all around the world, and we've spoken about this before, but in places in Europe and America, the vibe and the frequency is quite high.
Yeah.
But when you come to Melbourne, it's quite low. Why do you think that is?
Oh, with bringing it up again, I think COVID played a huge role in the dampening of it. Losing your dad took away. My Christmases are not the same. We're not at the Christmas party every year. Every year, without a doubt, that was a part of the vibe. It's profound how one person's energy can affect thousands of people and lift a spirit. When you have the spirit your dad had, you can change thousands of people's energy. They don't even realize it's happening, but it is on a very, very energetic level. And so I come back to Australia. A lot of places are closed down. People are. It's heavy. It's heavy here. It feels heavy. It's a lot of rules, a lot of restrictions. They're ruining this country in so many ways, and you can feel it. And I travel the world. I've lived in America for 20 years. I can make a comparison. I've lived on both. I was born here. Australia has always had this fun energy about it, and you can still find the pockets, but there's just the liveliness on the streets, the way people are treated. I mean, even the road rules. It's just, it feels like it's closing in and it's closing in and it's closing in. And you think of Australia and you think of freedom and you think of just our communities, and I just don't feel that way anymore. And they're making some rules down here that are not great, and we can all feel it. And the ones that I meet down here that are really asleep to it are asleep everywhere in their lives. Yeah. Like it's like a weird thing.
Yeah,
it's like a weird mini zombie apocalypse. I'm like, are you even aware of how this looks? I don't talk massively about politics and get too heavily down the rabbit hole, but I do talk energy and frequency, and it has changed drastically, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And do you have any advice for people that are in Melbourne or even Australia that also feel it but don't know what to do?
I felt when I was in my early 20s with what I wanted to do, this sounds so cheesy, but I'm just using it as an energetic example. I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I was capable of, but I knew that I wasn't going to get to the level if I stayed in Melbourne in the entertainment business at the time. Now, 20 years later, Australia's entertainment business is thriving. We're making the biggest movies in the world here. But at that time, it wasn't offering me. They were squashing me down. They would only ever want to talk about, Nicki didn't get into a party on the weekend. But they missed the part where I'd made massive movies with A-list actors and worked my ass off and slept on couches. They never wanted to talk about that. So I was like, I'm going to have to get out of here to get to another level of energetic respect and quality that Australia didn't give. So when I think of people in Australia wanting to change that energy, be vocal. You don't have to be aggressive. It's, I've heard people talk about advice of you can't change the world, but you can change how you are at home and how you live and the choices you make and what you watch and what you sign up for. You are only responsible for the energy you carry in your body. Go where you are celebrated, where you are loved. It's one thing to be passionate, and it's another thing to just be insanely aggressive and lose your mind, especially with the access we have on phones. But if you get the opportunity to travel around the world, even in the harder places, I always say that to people, just go and see how the rest of the world lives, whether it's America or anywhere in Europe. We are, first of all, we're so blessed about in the countries we were born into with what's going on, but you have to not give a fuck. You have to break outside of this belief system that Australia still carries, where they will squash you down. The media here, the stuff they write about me still, if they still even do write about me here on a small scale, it's always half of it's untrue. and it's never complimentary. But in America, I'll do like some small cheesy movie, and I'm not looking for praise, but I will have people say, that was
You've got
great.
support.
And well done, and, really get behind each other. I think, and this was a discussion I had at dinner recently here in Melbourne, is so many Australian people, their default has become like their first bit of energy is always to the negative immediately. And I've done this too. When you get told something or see something, our first thought is negative. Oh, but they're this. Oh, but they're that. Oh, but really, Americans, for the most part, when I've dealt with Americans, if you tell them something, they'll immediately go to the positive, or they'll immediately go to the, I want to be on that. They'll try and solve the problem. And I think as Aussies, my advice would be, when you hear a slice of news or you see something that may be someone doing better than you, choose your first thought to be, well done. How can I get involved? Choose it to be a choice of the cup is half full.
And it's perfect advice, because the one true thing in all of our lives, the only thing we can actually control is our thoughts.
Yes.
That's the only thing that in our life that no one else knows what they are, but when they come into our head, we have the power to let it take over, or to be able to get rid of it, shift it, change it, deal with it, turn it into action. It's really the only thing we actually have 100% control over is our thoughts. So try and always turn it into something positive.
Always practice it as your daily practice. And when you do that, your world will start to change. And again, coming back to your dad, for an Australian born and bred, he had the mentality of an American in so many ways, which I loved. The positivity, the happiness, I've been to your dad's barbecues, and there's been people from my past there where I'm like, Shane, I don't like that person. He goes, we're all here, Nick. Don't worry, we're going to have a good time. He would be so full of light. He would bring rooms of enemies together and choose the positive. And guess what? By the end of the night, we're downstairs in the room dancing
all having
together.
some fun together.
He had an American positivity about, you could say to him, I've got this really weird idea. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's find out a way to make that happen. And you're carrying that through him with all the legacy and all the things you're doing. You're choosing, which is what I love about what you guys do and what you're doing, is you're choosing to make the absolute best out of a devastating situation. That is what we need to do here. Instead of sort of getting aggro and getting vile on the social media, change your day to day. It sounds so cheesy, but we know, because we roll quite similarly, is it'll have a profound change on everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Nicki, because it's something that I have really practiced the last few years, is just positive, positive, positive. And now whenever I hear or see something, my first thought is always how to solve the problem or how to turn it into a positive.
Yeah.
And from what was such and still is such negative in my life and a lot of people's lives, which was Dad's passing, I hope every single day I'm still trying to do something positive, whether it's spreading some of his, mantra, manners are free, be respectful, be early, help people where you can, show up, try new things, put yourself out there, all these things, and helping people along the way. I feel like, I'm carrying on his mission.
Yes, you are. You really are. And I'll hear songs on the radio. I have playlists from your dad's parties.
And he likes to think he had the best music taste of all time.
He did, guys. He did. Like everybody, there are songs that come on when I'm at big sports games in America, and I'm like, that was Shane's soundtrack. Yeah. He carried a frequency of he left his energy through music. When I hear a song, it reminds me of him. Like, imagine we all aimed at that. It sounds so silly and sort of trivial, but it's actually not. We can all take a leaf out of his book and just choose to be happy. At Christmas time, when nothing's going on, we're all lost, we don't know what to do. Guess who's still a little bit positive? Find the positives in everything. It will change, I believe, because there's a darkness here that we need to be responsible. If we're going to be alive in this time, we can change the narrative.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much, Nicki. And before we wrap up, do you have one, or what is your earliest or most vivid memory of Dad? Or something that when it comes to your mind, you hear or think about Dad, what's the first thing that pops up into your mind?
It's probably just, there was just a safety with your dad. I know people know him as party and fun, and from the day I met him, he was deeply respectful toward me, was always supportive, never missed a call. When someone that powerful can make you feel safe, I wouldn't speak to him for a year or two, and then he would show back up. I could ask him the most random things in this world, and he would hold the space and give me advice. Navigating my business is so weird at times, and he held a torch for staying up, positive, just not giving a shit, and he's just so. I just think it's a weird thing, but I think safety.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing all of these stories and being so open, Nikki. Sorry if this went for a little bit too long.
No, look at me, chatty Cathy over here.
No, it's good. I didn't even get to talk about your love of Star Wars. Well, actually, before you wrap up, where did your love of Star Wars come from? Every time I'm posting, sorry to cut you off, every time I'm posting my Lego or Star Wars, you're always the first person to reply saying it looks great.
My toaster is Darth Vader's head.
I have the same. We have the same toaster. We have the same Darth Vader toaster.
When the toast comes out, he's there.
Yes.
Even though he's the dark side. I was in my mum's tummy when Empire Strikes Back was on the movie theatres in Australia.
Yeah.
I think something happened deep back then.
She went to the movies and you heard the Emperor March and you connected to it.
By the way, when I got married and when we finished, when my husband and I at the time, we're not together anymore, he's wonderful, but when we come down, your dad flew in from the UK just for my wedding in LA, and the walk was the Imperial March at the end of my wedding.
Wow.
Star Wars, it's just a thing. I think we may end up there in the future. I hope we do, and you and I will be leading the way.
We'll be
Star
there.
Wars.
We'll be there. We'll be Jedi Knights with our blue and green lightsabers. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I hope you guys have a great 2026. Thank you, Nikki.
Thanks,
All good.
Pete.
No, thank you for coming on.